There's lots of chairs down front. Please, you're welcome.
We're in the spotlight just like the rest of us.
You know, I watched Back to the Future recently, and you remember what they were trying to do? They were trying to save the clock towers. I think we're going to need more than a quarter for Marty McFly, but there's money for you. Yeah, that was a lot of stuff to go through, but it's totally new.
What's proud today?
Well, Cougar seems like Southern, so we got that.
Sure.
And this is I just wanted to forewarn you that Patty babysitting. I don't think Patty has a fiance.
Ready to.
Same.
Oh. Yeah.
And NBA needs to be $2,500. Oh, you want it. They can't shoot.
Yeah.
So the Diamondbacks are basically you. They played that. We don't play USC. That coach is Bobby Hurley.
Yeah.
Just his brothers.
Great. Today.
Oh, so I'll send a screenshot of the, Othello when he first came in, it had a list of order services, the presentation was amazing. So instead of, I don't have a lot of room up there, maybe doing scrolling of all of our services and elaborating a little bit on it, because I get people in that, so we room them and they don't know what everything we have the possibilities to do, you know? I don't think we're selling ourselves enough on like bladder scans on for any case, if you're having any kind of issue, find all of this stuff. And I don't think, imaging, even, with the clinic and everything, I think we could dial it down. Really feel this on all of our services and then simply highlight these, because we're not getting enough on them. I'll send you a picture of the. All right, you guys. Yeah,
Yeah, stop it out. Yeah.
I didn't just put these young ones today, but I guess California might have a 30 to 20 lead over A and M. A&M came back. Yeah. They started getting tax forgiveness, but you know, they're like, watch out. Yeah.
It's nice to meet you.
I got excited. They said, like, hey, maybe a benefit conference. Yeah. You know, like those guys that are in their seventies or I think they have. Hence their social. They have that song Money Talks, right?
Somebody else. Probably the silver bullet. I mean, like, part of that was your job. Maybe not like it's usually their fault. Yeah.
I have 2 o'clock. We're gonna give it another minute or two here for everybody to get settled. I know we've got a full house. There's a couple of chairs up there in the front. If you need a chair, some overflow room here to the side. But we'll get started here in about another minute or so.
Yeah, not enough. Sorry.
More volume?
Yeah, we're in the Sleeping back into. Yeah. Well, he's in charge of much on college game day, I think. Just like, I know the finale.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
We'll try that again. Okay, I am going to call to order this community forum of Adams County Public Hospital District Number 2 at 2:02. I'm Riley Dilly. I'm chair of the board. I will turn it over to Dallas Killian, who will end the meeting.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Dallas Killian, and I serve as Chief Operations Officer for East Adams Rural Healthcare. I'd like to welcome you to this public meeting. We truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. First, before we get started, the bathrooms are located either right here, or if you go out the hall and out to the hall and down to the left, that's where the bathrooms are. We have waters on the back table, I believe, if there still are any. And we ask that you please silence any phones that you may have if possible. Joining me from the administrative team today is our Chief Clinical Officer, Deborah DeWard, our HR Manager, Amanda Osborne, our Chief Financial Officer, Viola Babcock, our Interim Chief Executive Officer, Todd Nida. 2 members of our administration team were unable to attend, Compliance Officer Mara Shamir and our Executive Secretary, Kylie Wason. From the board, we have here today John Prott. We also have Eric Walker, Matt Hubick, and our board chair, Riley Hilly, and not here today is Dan Duff. Today is about listening to your questions, to your concerns, and your perspectives as members of our community. It's also a chance for you to get information directly from our administrative team and board about what's happening within the hospital and the path forward. We want this to be an open and honest conversation where both listening and sharing takes place. We want to be clear from the beginning that this is not a decision-making session and that no formal actions will be taken today. To help us have a productive and respectful conversation, we have a few guidelines for how we'll move through today's discussion. First, we ask that everyone maintain respectful language and tone. Personal attacks, any disruptive behavior won't help us move forward, and we want to create a space where everyone feels comfortable sharing. This is not a debate forum. We may not all agree, and that's okay. Our goal is to listen, not to argue or try to win a point. During the Q&A session, each person who comes to the microphone will have about 5 minutes total. That includes your question or comment and any response that follows. This helps ensure that as many voices as possible have time to be heard. We also ask that you allow speakers to finish their thoughts without interruption. We'd also like to remind that we cannot discuss any individual medical cases or personal health information. That's both to comply with HIPAA and to protect everyone's privacy. I want to note that today's meeting is being recorded, audio and video recorded in its entirety. The unedited recording will be made available to the public once the meeting concludes. This allows community members who aren't able to be here with us to watch it on their own time when they're available. By staying in the room, you're acknowledging and consenting to this recording. Finally, throughout our time together, you may hear references to a number of local, state, and federal agencies. We've included this slide listing those organizations for your reference. So when they come up in conversation, please feel free to look back at the information. As we move into the first part of the forum, I want to share how we'll continue. Over the past week, we received questions from the community members. 24 individuals took the time to submit their thoughts, any questions, and we truly appreciate that level of engagement. We've prepared responses for each of these questions, and the next portion of our meeting will be dedicated to walking through them. I want to note that to ensure full candid dialogue, the questions and our corresponding responses will be posted on our website at the conclusion of this meeting as well. So we'll now move to those questions. The way we will function and go through this portion is I will ask a question that was given to us, and then a member of either our administrative team or the board will answer that. So first question right off the bat that we received, Todd will answer this one. And is the hospital closing?
First off, thank each of you for coming today. It is awesome to see so much support and interest in what we're doing in the community. So thank you all. The answer to is the hospital closing. At this time, we're in uncharted territory, right? We do not have a definitive answer. Our focus remains on maintaining services and financial stability while we assess all available options to keep us moving forward.
The second question that we'll go over is, did the new hospital ever make any money, and what does the future look like financially?
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Yes, the last year the hospital reported a positive financial outcome was 2021. Since then, we have faced operational challenges stemming from prior hospital administration. We are actively taking steps to strengthen our financial position.
Next question is, what happens to EMS services if the hospital shuts down? Answered by Todd and Deborah.
So this is a great question and extremely important. If EMS were to shut down, alternative options would be limited to county services or neighboring facilities, resulting in greatly delayed response time. This could impact anyone traveling through our area or all of our local citizens also in the surrounding areas. Maintaining local EMS coverage is critical to community safety.
Next question is, why are we paying for EMS when they provide services outside of our area? Answered by Todd.
So EMS never leaves our area without ALS services available locally. Interfacility transfers provide essential revenue that supports our overall operations and help keep our EMS program sustainable.
Can you talk louder?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the ALS?
Yeah.
Yeah, advanced life supports, ALS. Yep. So question 5, is the hospital billing process being addressed via what?
Yes. We partnered with Multicare, a team of billing experts who are actively correcting previous issues and improving our processes. They are managing large volume of accounts for us. We have right at about 4.5 million of accounts receivable. Is that loud enough? You good? No? Okay, we'll do a little louder. All right, that better? You good? Okay. So we have about 4.5 million of accounts receivable, and we've already made some significant progress in improving collection. We bill on average 1.6 a month in this month, so they went live in August, and had September and October, and so far this month we're on track to do 2 million, which would be a record for us. We had some fairly heavy volume, so it's great to have the partnership with Multicare, who has really been supportive of us, and the ability, when we have increased volumes, they have the ability to expand and to move quickly with us so that we don't create backlogs, because they can expand and constrict. They bill us by volume. They don't bill it as set rates. Does that make sense? So gross charges net about 1 million in cash, and Medicare runs about 500,000 of that on average per month.
Next question is, what caused or what's causing the audit delay?
The delay, so the audits were not done for 22, 23, and 24. When I arrived in June of this year, 2025 will not be done and is not due until May of 26. But for 22 and 23, those are now complete. 24 is slated to go to the board on the 9th of December. The delay was caused by missing documentation that was not provided by the former administration. Okay.
I think Neil already answered this one. Can you speak to accounts receivable and collections?
I'll give you a couple of numbers that I didn't give, but so of the 4.5 million that we roughly have in accounts receivable, 900,000 of that, just shy of 1 million, is personal accounts. The rest of them are all due by insurance and Medicare and Medicaid. So, which yield the highest returns, and that's what we focus on.
Next question, is it possible to recover money given in bonuses based on false or misleading information?
What I can say is we are fully cooperating with all ongoing investigations. Any recoverable funds or corrective actions will follow the appropriate legal and regulatory channels.
Next question, what is happening legally with the prior administration?
Again, much like the last answer, those matters are currently under investigation by the appropriate authorities, some of those that we posted behind us. We are cooperating fully and awaiting official findings.
Can you share what money is missing, and are any of those responsible still serving on the board?
Again, there's ongoing investigations that will determine accountability. It's also important to clarify that the current Board of Commissioners have not been presented with the required audits for review and or approval under previous leadership. This information is now being addressed through the appropriate processes.
Next question that we received was, what's happening with the hospital restaurant project?
As we provide inpatient swing bed services, we're required to maintain a compliant commercial grade kitchen. And I'd like to make a quick comment that's not in my current answer, that to give a little bit of a history, when the hospital was remodeled in 2016, there was a little tiny kitchen put in that was there for nutritional use only for current patients for snacks in between meals. It is not a compliant Department of Health functional kitchen. Currently, our food service operates out of a privately owned building that can be sold at any time. We lease it for $1 a year, and the owner has notified us that it is up for sale. This creates a significant operational risk for the hospital. To safeguard essential services, we're developing the Healthy Harvest Cafe, which will include a fully compliant DOH certified, capable of supporting inpatient meals, staff dining, and public service. This ensures that we maintain uninterrupted access to a required kitchen, even if the former Life Care Center building is sold. We have already launched the employee meal component, which has been very well received and is generating positive revenue for the organization. I'd also like to note out that inpatient meals, which is all we were previously doing, is a complete zero net revenue generator. So it's a large loss to the hospital every year. The reason in moving forward in this new direction to be able to serve food for our employees and possibly some of the public is every revenue positive that we can gain decreases that net loss for the hospital every year. So it just makes sense. It's what the majority of all critical access hospitals are moving to. Because in that model, you can recoup some of your losses.
Next question is, what's the status of the mammogram program?
So we are actively pursuing grant funding to be able to offer mammogram services. Implementation is contingent upon the success of that funding.
I would like to add to that too, as far as mammography services here locally. We are a member of what's called the Rural Health Collaborative. We're actually a part owner in that organization. Currently, there's 24 critical access or public district hospitals in the state of Washington that are participant owners of that program. Within that program, we're working on a mobile unit to service Washington's underserved areas for mammography services. That will come to us at a no-cost option, but we'll be able to provide that service locally. That is currently in the works. We should see that sometime in the next calendar year.
First question we received was, what properties does EARH own?
Property at 903 South Adams, of course, that's the hospital. 202 West 10th, 201 West 9th, 203 South Washington, 206 West 9th, and 402 East Avenue.
Can you clarify what those are for us?
Yeah. Okay. So we got the first one, the hospital. That's easy. 202 West 10th is the PT building.
The old dentist office.
201 West 9th is offices and call room. 903 South Washington is a call house, so that's where the night shift sleeps for critical services, EMS, lab, RAD, and our ER docs. And then we have second call house, 206 West 9th, and 402 East 1st will be the cafe.
For morning.
That's where we sit.
This question is, how many people live within the hospital district?
Our service includes the communities of Sprague, Lane, Washington, Bench, and Ritzville, and 56% of our employees live within our service area.
What's the process for contacting the board about serious concerns without fear or retribution? I'll answer this. Our employees need to know that they have access to board members at any time. Email addresses for the board are public and accessible to employees for communication. If someone were to wish to contact the board anonymously, they must put in a ticket on Ethics Point, which is something we implement here at the hospital. Our compliance officer, Mara, who is not here today, but our compliance officer has direct access to the board, ensuring that concerns are reviewed appropriately.
So, would you share how they can access Ethics Point?
Yeah, so Ethics Points can be accessed on our website. If you, on the homepage, scroll all the way down, there's a compliance hotline button. That'll take you straight to Ethics Point, where you can put in a ticket. And that goes for employees and public alike. Anyone can use that for any concerns or questions that they may have. Question 16, why was there no notice for the November 6th board meeting? And where should we look for public meeting notices moving forward? I want to answer this. There was notices given. Meeting notices were posted on the hospital's front door and our official website, which fulfills all legal requirements for public notice. Public notices are not required to be posted on social media. Those platforms are not considered reliable for ensuring consistent public access. Moving forward, official postings for all scheduled board meetings will continue to be made in the required and dependable locations on the hospital's website, which is www.earh.org. They'll be on the front door and they'll be posted on the conference room door as well. The next question, why should the community trust this leadership team? Todd Winsor.
Okay, so this is a really good question, and it's a fair question. Trust is earned, not expected. Many of you don't know some of us personally, but this is the team that has asked all of the hard questions, pursued answers, and reported findings to the proper authorities. We're committed to honesty, openness, and rebuilding trust through consistent actions. I'd just like to add, many of you may not be aware, I've been an employee of EARH for 4.5 years now. I was the facilities and supply chain manager previously, and was for a short period of time the chief operations officer. Just so you're aware, I'm not brand new here. I have been here for a bit, and I do have a considerable amount of trust built up with all of the employees through what I was doing previously.
Next question to Viola. Could the hospital district be dissolved, and what happens to the levy and debt?
If the facility were to close, the levy would continue until all existing debt is paid off. Once the debt is cleared, the county has the option, but not the obligation, to dissolve the district. A regional provider would not assume the district's debt.
Sorry, I would also like to add to that. It is our intent to do absolutely everything possible to prevent that scenario from happening.
Next question that we received, will you be hiring Dr. Stockman?
At this time, we don't know if Mr. Sockman has any interest in returning or what his intentions might be. That would actually be a question best directed to him, because he has a clinic locally. That would be up to him.
Is there a way to resolve differences between Marnie and the hospital? Yeah.
So as Todd already alluded to, these matters are now under active investigation and are no longer within our control to influence and or comment on. Because of that, we're unable to discuss specific details. What we can emphasize is that patient safety remains our top priority, and we continue to ensure consistent medical coverage with all of our qualified providers.
So overall, that's what, those are the questions we received from our administrative team. And then there were some questions for the board. Well, I'll turn the time over to them.
Well, the first question we have here.
All right. Is this on? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
How about now? There we go. Okay. First question, hard question. Has the board been negligent in oversight of the hospital? That is a question that I have asked myself for several months now, and I have thought of every different way how to answer this, how to think about this, how I could go back and do things different, what I would do different. We as a board have reviewed the financials every single month. I spend a lot of time doing that. I've shared with many of you over the last few years that the hospital is doing great. We're in the black, we're making money, this is awesome, we're growing. and, we didn't get the audits. And if you go back and look at the board meeting minutes, we asked for the audits every month. When's the audit coming? There was always a great excuse. DZA is gonna be here next month. They're waiting on one last thing. We implemented Epic. Epic's really hard to merge with the previous system. We can't get the documents. And so the issue is, I wish that I would have called the auditors. I wish I would have gone to their office. I wish I would have said, hey, this is strange. Why are we not in this situation? Why are we not getting the audits? The first 2 years I was on the board, it took a while to get the audits done, and the numbers didn't move much from the financials we received from the audit. A small amount, nothing significant. So as a board member and as the board chair for 6 of the last 7 years, I feel that if somebody feels that we were negligent, then I'm not going to try to sit here and debate and change their opinion. I feel sick. I feel terrible that we didn't force the audits. If we would have had the audits, I think we would have been in a lot different situation than we are today. But that's all I can say on that. I mean, like I said, it's been a pretty sick and terrible feeling to have, and I'm sorry. I truly am sorry.
2 years instead of 2 months.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel terrible.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should feel terrible. Hey, follow the rules.
Yeah. So next question that the board got here is, what took the board so long to realize the hospital is being mismanaged? The similar answer to the first one, lack of audits. We got the financials. The financials showed good numbers. We sat there and believed those to be accurate. The financials that we received are pretty substantially different than what the audits are now showing. So that's really what it comes down to. I personally we had a hospital attorney employed by the hospital. I would ask her, she, I think at the time was the attorney for like 38 critical access hospital districts. Hey, do we have a good management team? Are we in a good spot? You have a great management team. Things are going great. You should be blessed to have them. Okay, great. That's wonderful to hear. She is also no longer with us. That legal counsel is now no longer our attorney. Next question. What led to the realization that something was wrong? I'll be honest with you. Viola Babcock, who deserves a lot of praise in this room right now. Yeah. So she got here in June, and our previous CFO left, and our new interim CFO came in and was hired, and I think within about a day or two said, yeah, you guys have your house is on fire. And the conversation was, I don't know how that's possible. Look at the numbers, everything is going well. These aren't real numbers, and there's a lot of things that have to change. Viola put together an action plan in June. As you guys know, we had some large layoffs in the month of July and August that were hard, incredibly difficult, and I feel very terrible for those employees because they didn't do anything wrong. We have to right size in July, and the improvement plan, the turnaround plan is working. There's a couple large things that happened in the middle of this turnaround plan that we can get into here. But that's the situation there. Yeah. Yeah.
Real quick, just because the public doesn't know exactly how we are presented finances. So we get a report at the board each month that presents our finances, but there's also a finance committee that was also provided incorrect documentation. The finance committee is some of the admin team, 2 board members, and a member of the public. This isn't something that the board was just seeing, once a month we glanced at things. There was a misrepresentation of finances at multiple levels. I'm not on finance committee, but I know that they spend a lot of time and look through a lot of numbers, and those were falsely provided as well. So it wasn't something that just, the board looked at briefly once a month. We were provided false financials at multiple levels, multiple times a month. And what finance committee saw matched what was given at board. So that I think just an extra level of deception that was happening. But once again, we don't see the day-to-day finances. We don't go into the computers. We are given those reports by multiple people from the admin team. Uh, we don't have the ability, nor really should that be the board's role, to dig into the computers to find, every single bill that goes in or out. And that's where there was that trust in admin, that obviously, wasn't warranted.
Let me say something. I've been now for over 12 years. I'm the longest serving commissioner on the board. And I can tell you that from that experience, plus some previous years being active in board affairs, that the unaudited information that the board receives in those monthly packets, when you come to the end of the year, then when the audit is finally done, and it's not always done very rapidly, but when it is, it almost always historically has been very similar to the numbers we got. There will be some I's to dot, some T's to cross, but basically, the assumption always was, because this is what the long history goes, is that when an audit does come in, it's going to match pretty well what we were told. So we had no a priori reason to be shocked or appalled when the audits were coming in late, particularly because we were constantly, as John has said, being given reasons, supposed reasons, why that was the case. And the other thing I would like to say is it's very difficult to bring yourself to believe that professional people that you have been dealing with are doing things that appear to be seriously wrong. When you go to your dentist, you don't assume or think that it's likely that he's going to tell you about cavities that you don't really have so he can make some more money. You go to your lawyer, you don't assume that he's going to do something for you, make a bill or whatever, that he is going to embezzle your money. You don't assume your bank's going to cheat you. It's just something that doesn't come into your mind right away. And I think that's a very human response. I really don't know that if any one of you were in our situation, you would have said, no, those audits are horrible. We have to have them right away. That's not the way it works. And I would also say finally, that you can go on our website and you can look up the board packets and you can read every one of those board packets. Over the last couple of weeks, I have put in, I wouldn't want to tell you how many tedious hours combing through all of those packets to see, in retrospect, not only the numbers we were given, but comments that were made. And things like, oh, the money is out there. We'll get it. I don't know how many times that was told to us. So, and it seems reasonable. But you can go look up those packets and see what we were being told about our financial condition. And basically, it was always, we're doing great business, we're just having trouble collecting.
Next question. Would the board listen to the community in considering rehiring Dr. Sockman? At this point, I think that that's a decision that is definitely in Dr. Sockman's court. I think everybody here knows that there's a bad history. And for any role that I played or the district played in it, I do apologize to Dr. Sockman. And if there's some way to make something work with him in the future, I for sure would be 100% for that. Why did the previous CEO receive a bonus while the hospital was operating in the red? Again, we received financials signed off by our CFO each year that showed the numbers being different than they were. Mr. Feedy's contract had objective, measurable things in it that gave bonuses, such as accounts receivable days, cash on hand. There was some incentives to hire a provider because when I first got on this board, it was very difficult to find providers, and that was an emphasis given to the administrator at that time. So we got objective, signed off documents from our CFO stating these were the situation, and his contract had objective requirements to pay for those exact measures. Next question. Why does an individual on the board not reside within the precinct or county? Commissioner Duff is not here. I think that's a question for him. It has been addressed in the past. What residing in the county or precinct depends on state law where you look at that. I don't want to debate that today, but that's a question for Commissioner Duff. Why does the board receive, this last question we got, why does the board receive insurance benefits? Insurance benefits are a incentive, a perk, compensation for board members that have been on this hospital board since before I've been on here. Very similar to other boards in the area, other hospital districts. I don't think it's something that's substantially out of the norm, but that is why the board receives insurance benefits. That is all the questions that the board has received. I don't know if anybody else on the board wants to answer or add anything right now. Al? Oh, yeah.
Who's your ranker?
One thing I'd like to share, which many of you may not be aware of, this board has worked diligently nonstop since they found out the state we were in. John, I don't think slept for days and days on end when he found out how bad our situation was. And Board Chair Hilly has been in communication with me on almost a daily basis. They have dug in and they are wanting to stay engaged and find out from day to day where we are at, where we are going.
It is in the best interest of the community and particularly for the hospital, for every member that can have commercial insurance to do that. We have the right under our insurance to include board members. And that ability to be able to bill the insurance and to do that should they have needs is a financially prudent decision to make. It may be something to entice the board members to run or people to come, but I will tell you from a strictly financial picture, you want everybody on commercial insurance that you can possibly do that. And our insurance carrier includes the right for board members, and that is a good thing financially for us. It is something you always want as many people on commercial insurance as possible. Does that make sense?
Board is considered an employee, or board members considered an employee of the district, and so therefore they are eligible for benefits.
Let's open it up now. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna move into the next session, an open Q&A comment session. As we transition into the open portion, I want to briefly restate the guidelines so we can keep the session respectful and well organized. A copy of the community engagement guidelines is available at the podium over here to your right. And I'll go back to the slide just as a refresher as well. Each participant will have a total of 5 minutes about, which includes your question or comment, as well as any response from the board or administrative team. To help us manage time, a couple employees of the hospital, Sarah and Nicole, will be assisting throughout this portion of the meeting, and we appreciate their support. When you have 1 minute remaining, Sarah will raise her hand up and display the number 1 with her fingers. When your time has ended, she will raise her hand in a closed fist to signal that we need to move on to the next speaker and try to wrap up as you can when you see that.
So just real quick, I wanted to comment on the time. Again, as a reminder, this meeting is for you. It's for a chance for you to speak. If you've got enough on your shoulders that you want to speak that goes past 5 minutes, we're not pulling the mic from you. You have the right to say what you feel and what you need to get said. And
Perfect. So at this time, we invite anyone who would like to participate. Please make your way to the podium in an orderly manner, and we will begin this session momentarily.
Nice to meet you. Loud enough? Hey, my name is Dan Chris, and the reason I got up first, not to be selfish or self-centered. I'm old. I went to the gym this morning, kind of trying to do a new thing, and I really hurt myself. So I'm going to get this done and sit down. Okay.
So my name is Dan Chris. I'm the lab manager at East Adams, okay? And the first thing I want to do is tell you why I'm speaking. Our leadership really stated that we should consider and understand that this is a community event. Well, I'm a member of the community, and I'm one of over 100 employees who stand to lose what we love to do. Okay, I'm not going to be a wallflower about that. That's for sure. Okay, and so is Mud Ryan here, by the way? Okay, and so what I want to say to you is the first thing I want to do is I want to recognize my staff. It's Ashley Burnett there. Please stand. Chablis Green, Nilcy Ruiz, Josh Brownlow, and then there's Janika Logan, and she's not here today. You know why she's not here today? Because she's standing watch for you. Okay, she's standing watch for you. Okay, EMS, radiology, um, facilities. Okay, we stand watch for you. I can tell you, in the 8 years I've been here, I've been probably called 300 times at 1 a.m. Okay, for you. All right, and we want you to know that. Okay, EMS, 1 a.m. for you. You know something really interesting about this? Our facilities people run to Spokane to get life-saving blood. You know who drags his ass out at 4 a.m. for you all? The man at the center of that stage. You have a servant leader here, okay? You have a servant leader in this room. And we want you to know that, okay? We want you to know that. There's something special about servant leadership. And he is that man, okay? Want to get back to sort of COVID and because we have our legacy things, right? And COVID was sort of a legacy for us. And it was an amazing time. And I'm speaking in my world. It's not like nursing and all the other departments did incredible things, but COVID was kind of a lab centric thing, okay? And so in August summers, Ashley and Josh Chablis would stand out on a corner under an awning in 95 heat, all PP'd up, sweating their rear ends off, curbside collecting, one car after another. And then in the winter, it'd be 15-degree temperatures, doing all we can for our swabs not to fly away in the wind, okay? And we served you all well, okay? We served you all well. So well, do you know what happened? Anybody seen the movie The Field of Dreams where there's that baseball field in the Iowa cornfields? And if you build it, they will come, and they'll come for miles around. Well, you know what happened? We did COVID so well that people from Spokane, Moses, Tri-Cities would come up here to get their swab, okay? You have servants in this hospital, okay? You have servants in this hospital. We want you to know that, okay? We want you to know that you have a servant leader at the helm now. I want to tell you about some culture things, okay? I can tell you today, I'm as mad at two people on that stage as I could be. You know what? And they might be mad at me. I think I'm right. They think they're right. But you know what's different? We can have rock fights now. We can have those rock fights. And that's important. We don't have to be silent. We'll heal what we need to heal. We'll come to an agreement and we'll move on for you. Culture has changed in this hospital, and you all have to know that. You all have to know it because it matters. Okay? And the last thing I'm going to say to you all, and this requires your grace, is there's something about forgiving the sins of the past. Okay? And I think it's time for that. Whether you decide East Adams is not for you, or you're going to support the future, it is time to forgive the sins of the past. Okay? You can never have a fresh start if you don't. I used to coach basketball. I talk about it a lot. One year, I think I had a team that was 2-18. Okay? I didn't have to bring that to next year. The team at the following year was 20-0. We want your grace in terms of moving forward. We need that from you. I thank you all for being here. I'm really passionate today. Those people up on the stage know that about me. Okay? Love you guys. We appreciate you guys. We need you guys. Thank you.
I don't think anybody
is complaining about the service. As a patient, I got wonderful service. My question is, you said you were getting misinformation, and that's why we're in the trouble we're in now. I want to know, why did it take so long to find that out?
Yeah, Dee Dee, great question. As I mentioned earlier, we got the documents that were given to us. We read them. I know I spent a lot of time reading them, and they weren't accurate. They were lies. And that's the really difficult deal, to sit up here and try to explain that to everybody. Trust me, I've thought about it a million times. How would I know differently? We have some things outside of that, like some fraudulent Medicare charges that were done in 2023 for some substantial amount of money. And absent being in the billing department and understanding that things were being pushed through, there's no way a board member could know that. And so now we're paying for those sins by paying Medicare back for charges from 2 years ago. There is accounts payable that were never even on the books that Viola found when she got here, pretty substantial amounts. If it's not on the books, it's not being presented to us. There's really no way for me to find it absent sitting in the CFO's drawer. I mean, that's the situation. So here is
Are
the deal.
people going to be held accountable?
Yes.
What was the question? I missed it, sorry.
She wanted to know if people will be held accountable. The answer to that is yes. Okay, take a look at this screen. Yeah, just a second. Okay, so I want to help everybody understand the question we got and the question she asked, which is, how did the board not know? So we're cleaning this mess up. We're going to hold the people accountable with those agencies. We're going to let them do their job. They are on it. They've got it. Okay. So we're doing what we need to do, but they will do their jobs. A recommendation I've given to the board that the community needs to know. One of the pieces, there were two significant pieces that allowed this to go on so long and allowed it to happen. One was, there is not anyone on the board that is a CPA. There's no one on the board with financial expertise. So the next time this community elects somebody to the hospital board and you get an option, you need to encourage somebody that has that expertise. You need all kinds of expertise on the board. You need a lawyer, you need a business person, you need somebody who understands the commitment to the clinical world, but you've got to have a finance person, okay? Had you had somebody with a financial expertise on the board, they would have called this real fast, okay? That's the first thing that needs to change. And you as voters have the power to make that happen. The next thing that happened is there is a check and balance system that failed. And in all my years of working, so what happens is if the CFO goes south, the CEO holds them accountable. If the CEO goes south, the CFO holds them accountable. Okay? If they go south, there is an external audit firm and the state of Washington that has an audit office that are the next level of check and balance. Okay? So you had a perfect storm essentially inside. You had that check and balance fail. There was no way for the board to know. There's no way for them to know. The next level of check and balance would have happened had the audits happened. That's your external form that is required. The next one is the state of Washington. That audit firm, the state of Washington's audit office, doesn't kick in until the audits are filed. Because the audits weren't filed, they didn't realize that they hadn't audited us since 21. That's why. That is the why of how this happened. So now The State of Washington Audit Office has a new process. Our external audit firm has a process. They will speak directly to the board of directors. And the board of directors in this community, when the next time you come up for a vote, they're going to get somebody on the board that has a CPA, okay? So this won't happen again. The things that failed have been fixed or will be fixed. That help everybody understand how we got here? Okay. It won't happen again, but that's what's been put into place and will be put into place, so it doesn't happen again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me add one thing. The state has laws about how audits, how often they're supposed to be done. And it says in one of the RCWs that it has to be done within 5 months at the end of the year, meaning around the end of May. But along with a number of other requirements that the state has for federal enforcement, there is absolutely no truth in that. There is no provision for enforcement. There is no enforcement from the state. That's a failure on the state's part. They're gonna make a law that says you have to have an audit in by 150 days after. They can have some sort of enforcement mechanism. They don't, and that's part of what truth is done.
I think Viola did a great job explaining some of the failures that got us to this point, lack of accountability. Just to speak a little bit on going forward, because it's a large question that I've had, is how do we prevent something like this from happening? Again, not only at our hospitals, but prevent something like this happening at any hospital or any organization. We have gone through a slew of policy updates. Internally, we have talked with an audit firm, as Viola had mentioned. They're going to have new processes as well, so that something like this doesn't reoccur, cannot reoccur. Bylaws have been changed, like I said, policies have been updated and changed. You know, we thought that we had those checks and balances in there. Obviously, those failed us. We've added more. We've added more personnel. More people are now getting eyes on every charge, every bill that goes out, just so that we can stay on top of these things better going forward.
I lived on First Avenue for 5 years. I was excited to move here after I became a widow. And every night and day, I watched the ambulances pull out because my dad was right at them. So for 5 years, I've been watching night and day these wonderful people. I see them in the daytime and I only sleep a few hours a night. So I want to tell them thank you. I don't know if they're here, but I appreciate you all. You recognize me? Thank you. I waved to them. I just need to say that. Also, I want to say thank you to the emergency room staff that's helped the emergency room staff, the medical clinic staff. We can't survive here without this hospital. It is end of story. I don't care if I have to go get a job and my retirement. I'm willing to pay more property tax to save our hospital. If that's our only opportunity, we got to do this. I have 3 generations of family members in my house. I have a 13-year-old grandson, 42-year-old daughter. They just moved here with her son. She's a master's of business administration in the financial transformation for Nike. So she works in finance. She just opened up a business here in town as a second gig because she's working remote and things aren't so good at Nike. So things can go bad, not just in hospitals. They can go bad in big companies. I want to say about transparency. I would like you to reconsider only posting your notices on the website. The website has been hard to navigate for 5 years since I've been here. Today I looked at to see if you had on your calendar this meeting. It wasn't on today's calendar, on your calendar page. So I think we need to pay attention to that. So if you can at least get the calendar page getting close to it, please. The other thing I want to say is we all have to look backwards or history will repeat itself. So I understand that we have a great team. Now. We're going to fix it. I absolutely know this community is taking smart people, but I want to see the August 5th, 2025 DZA PDF file unlocked for copying. It's disallowed. That is not fair to me. You've got it on your server. It's many pages, but there's no reason to disallow content me to copy information and pull it off. So I can like put it in a PowerPoint for myself and like look at it against the old minutes from your board meetings over the last 3 years. I think that we need to unlock that, and the state doesn't lock them up from copying their audits. And I have one last thing to say quickly.
I'm just gonna say this for a second, just to say, that's my bad. I didn't tell them. My bad.
It's okay. Just that
I'll just tell you, I forgot to tell them it's a public document.
checks and balances.
It's a public document.
Checks and
It can be open.
balances.
That's my
So,
part.
everybody now knows that I live straight across the street from them. Farm. But guess what? I'm 3 doors from 402 East First Avenue. My driveway's on First Avenue. So I've been looking at that little empty scooters building since I moved here 5 years ago. I I figured out it was being purchased through the what do you want to call it? Packets, right? Your Ford packets. And I know the listing agent and I know the selling agent. So, it wasn't a rumor to me because I immediately, thought it was going to happen. But recently I had to see if it had happened for sure. Nothing's for sure, just for hearsay. And I saw it was transferred the 27th of November last year. It was sold we purchased it, our district purchased the building. There's also a mobile home there and I think a shed. So there's 3 buildings on the property. For 150,000 bargain. Absolutely a great purchase. However, all of our other properties that the district owns are considered governmental exempt from property tax. To get those properties when we buy them exempt from property tax, we have to apply to the Washington Department of Revenue. Then they process the paperwork and send it to the county assessor. This year, in the spring, we've had it for about 6 months. We paid over $1,300 late for our property taxes on that property. We right now are 2 weeks late for the second part of the year that was due October 31st. We shouldn't be paying property taxes at all. That should go towards improving the building. And I'd like someone to run this down, get the paperwork into the Department of Revenue, and then let's get us that building off the tax roll so we can save $2,600 a year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Kramer from Sprague, and I came to this meeting living in Post Falls, but my family lives in my home in Sprague, and could be, they're part of the people that your hospital serve. And all I have heard about is whose fault was it and blah blah blah. My idea, I'm here. How are we going to save the hospital? How are we going to take the people that are laid off and put them back on the payroll? There's money to do that, is there not? Who's looking into that? I just looked in the big beautiful bill that was passed recently. There's $50 billion for rural healthcare, and I don't know how we're going about getting grants or anything like that. But I just want to make sure that Amanda still has a job for a long, long time, and Ashley back there still has a job for a long, long time. And if my driver that's going from Pasco to Spokane has a wreck on 395, you guys could save his life. Thank you. I would like to say something about what the previous questioner raised some issues about whether or not the hospital would close. And some years ago, the state of Washington organized a group called the Washington Rural Healthcare Access Program. And the 13, what they considered the 13 neediest hospitals were put on that group. And I attended those meetings for some years. And I did a lot of homework during that time. And one of the things I will tell you is that when a hospital in a rural town closes, that's a death sentence for that town.
Yes.
I'm not making, this is not drama. I'm not making this stuff up. You can go look it up on the law, on anywhere on the web. When a town's hospital closes a rural town, within 5 to 10 years, they're a ghost town, more or less, literally. I can tell you, I myself, if this hospital ever closes down, I'm out of this community. I don't even have a hospital nearby, and if a lot of other people do. Also, with respect to the remark about some taxation and so on, our neighbors over in Odessa, they support their hospital in an outrageous way because they know they have to have it. They pay 2.5 times the average tax rate for such hospitals in Washington, twice the tax rate of the next highest. So if you want to keep the hospital, then you have to think about going into your pockets.
Hi, my name is Jessica Quinn. First, I just want to say thank you to everybody that is here from the hospital, all the staff, EMS, all of you. Thank you. You guys are absolutely amazing. Had to use you recently for services that you thought we would never have to use you for, so much appreciated. My concern, since everybody else is gonna ask all the other hard questions, I've been a in-home and private caregiver for 21 years. And when I moved here 7 years ago, and about 2.5 years ago, I ran for city council because I wanted to see some sort of change. And I wanted to make this community my home. I took a break from caregiving, didn't think I'd ever go back to it. I did. I fell in love with the community, the people in it. We've been going through a big change at the hospital. We all know that. We all see that. I have all the faith in the world that the changes we need are coming. I have faith in the people up there. I pray to God. I pray for all of us as a community that positive changes are coming. But I just want to say that in the last 3 months, in particular, as far as patient care services, and this is not to the staff in the hospital working, you guys are not in charge of processes, but we're failing people because of the fact that, and I don't know if he's here, but the clinic manager and I have probably had more meetings than I care to have had due to lack of response, just the ball being dropped. I feel like it's almost a taboo word to say now, but when Marnie left us, nobody was warned, nobody was told, no calls were put out. Clients, I don't know if you guys know, but in care, when you go through services, you're only allotted so many miles of rides from your caretakers every month. I'm only allowed to take my clients to the doctors maybe once a month, and they are allotted so many miles and time for me for that. So when I go to the doctor and show up and we're told, sorry, your doctor's not here, we couldn't reach out to you, let's schedule you another visit next month and a half from now, because everything's booked. 2 weeks on phone calls being returned, nobody answering the front desk phones, having to leave messages. I personally had to, after 2 weeks of calling the front desk and leaving messages about a prescription for my own children, show up, take hours off of work, leaving my clients to fend for themselves, show up, handle it person. They couldn't do anything. Had to sit down with the clinic manager to get it taken care of. There's a lot going on up top, but you guys have got to remember that if you are expecting us as a community to step up, which we will, this is a really good community. We'll do what we need to do. But if you want us to step up, you guys need to step up in your client care services.
Yes, Mark Fowler, 606 South Adams Street. Most of y'all know me. Listen, this has been, board problems have been a problem in this community since they decided they're going to be making fraudulent claim that we need to build a new hospital because one's worn out. So I want to tell you, that's where the math starts at. I look at simple little things people do that show me who they are in the future. I mean, even Christ says, I'll give you 2 pence, build it to make it grow. He stuck it in the ground. The reality there is there was no plan there. So you were asked before, where's the plan to succeed in the future? And that's what I'm not seeing on the board right here. I know there's a lot of accountability that needs to happen right now, and people need to answer for their actions. But the money's not going to come from them. The return of this money is not coming from the people that caused the problems to begin with. It's negligence from the very start. It's that the I's are not dotted from the very beginning. The T's are not crossed from the very beginning. And when you start to see them subtleties with people, that's when you make the move. That's when you make a plan to say, hey, this person isn't totally honest with me. These people aren't. Because I will tell you right now, Eric, you said you're the longest serving board member. Well, that's true, but it's also how many messes have you guys created for yourselves from the very beginning? That eyesore over there, that's Life Care or whatever it's called now. That facility was given to you guys, but that's an albatross. You should have never accepted it to begin with. It's cost you nothing but money and grief and time and energy away from that hospital. The hospital is important. I mean, the people of this community spent $15 billion to rebuild it, right? And uh, the previous chairman of the board actually stated he agreed with me that it was negligent from the board that the hospital was in that bad a shape to begin with. So the board shows this level of negligence, and somewhere along the line, they have to be accountable to this community. Now, the hospital's up there, that's you guys, you choose who is going to run the board, who's going to run that hospital up there. You're making choices, you're making decisions like this, but yet every single person here is held financially accountable for their negligence, just like we are right now. We're held financially accountable for their negligence. Now, does that mean the hospital is going to close or not? I don't know that part because I haven't seen the math on it. But I'm telling you, it's very simple. It's very simple. If the math doesn't end up from month to month, it's not going to get better if we wait longer. It's not going to get this. The problem's not going to be solved just because we want to give them more time to do their job. They're going to make more mistakes, and it's going to cost us more money. So what I'm asking you right now, and you were asked earlier, where do we take and draw a line in the sand and say enough is enough? Now we need to get some people in that they're going to do the job, and we do have to set up to where there's accountability. I mean, ma'am, I don't know your name, but an accountant. This is an accountant right here. This man's an accountant, and we have a double ledger, right? All the time we're checking to make sure it's in balance. It's in balance. So I don't see how it got out of balance. Now I run construction jobs. I'm usually the CFO of a company or CEO of a company, and I run construction jobs, big jobs, 20, $30 billion jobs. But the main thing I look at is I have to trust every single person that reports to me. I have to trust them and I have to believe in what they're doing. So I always look at simple things that they're not doing. So when I ask people to fill out a resume, I tell them no graphics. So if there's graphics on the resume, it goes in the circular file. You see, it's simple little things that will trip people up. Every single time you can find them, they're not hard to find. But it'll prove to you that the person's either going to do what you ask them to do or they're not. And we're not supposed to wait, 6, 7 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, 10 years down the road. No, you walk up to them and you say, you're fired. I mean, it's that simple. If somebody doesn't want to perform, now you said John, you said you had measures in there that the CEO had to keep. Okay. But there's also the ones that we're not measuring right now, but we're expecting him to have kept, right? The actions he's supposed to report if the CFO's not reporting accurately, these kind of things. So these are the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's simple little things that get ignored. And then it becomes just like a snowball tumbling. It starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger until you can't handle it. And that's where we're at right now. So we're asking the board, what is it you're going to be doing in the future that's different from the past, so we don't end up where we were when we first started the construction project and to where we're at right now. On the end of the year, but I would like to say one thing with respect to the care center. This board held an open session very much like this at the meat growers when the question of whether or not to acquire it came up. And it was discussed, all the pluses and minuses. It was presented to a rather substantial number of citizens present at it. And they voted, yes, you could go ahead with that. We didn't just pull it out of the air. We made it open in front of everybody. The time came to make the decision that it wasn't working out. We had another open public meeting where we discussed it, laid out and answered questions, and everybody understood. My remembrance of that is everybody understood and agreed with the decision. They agreed with the decision to buy, they agreed with the decision to sell. So this is not something that the board did as we felt like. Hi, my name's Dave Loby. I'm a local resident here, and I have a series of questions. I wish I would have put it in your database so you could have read it then, but here's a two-parter. Do East Adams County Rural Hospital commissioners, as well as the chief financial officer, have surety bonds or liability insurance? Second part to that, can you as commissioners, as well as chief financial officer, be liable for hospital money shortfalls?
There is director and officers liability policies, just like almost every board you're gonna find. There's state law, no different than cities, counties, and other municipalities, removing commissioners from negligence or from liability outside of, malfeasance, fraud type of situation. As to administration, it is not as defined with the state law. So that's why everything that we've talked about up there on there is in play with previous administration. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Since you're speaking, why did you step down from chair before all this broke?
Yeah, good question, David. I was chair for 6 years straight, and I felt like in 2024 was the first year the financials came in to us with a loss. And so I felt it was time that somebody else should take that over because I felt like I failed. We had a loss last year. Obviously, now I know we had a loss previous 2 years as well, but at the time I didn't know that. So I was in a position where I said to Commissioner Hilly, maybe we need a different voice, which is why I stepped down.
Thank you. One last thing. Did East Adams County Rural Hospital receive COVID-19 funding or ARPA dollars from years 2020 to 25? If so, how much did you receive? Secondly, were the expenditures of those funds legally documented?
I can answer almost all of those questions. This hospital did receive COVID funds in the same years everybody else did. That was 19 and 20. They were spent according to the rule. There was no payback of COVID or ARPA monies. Okay. I don't know the exact amount this hospital has, but those audits for 19, 20, and 21 are complete. Okay, and no funds.
Sure, we'll go ahead and do those.
Yeah, all of our audits are public documents. You can send me an email and I'll send it to you. I'm required to do that. You can go on the State of Washington State Auditor Office, the SAO office, and those are filed there as well. There's been a couple of questions about what is the plan going forward. There is a plan to go forward. Bankruptcy and closure are not part of that plan. There is a definite plan to go forward. It has gone through the preliminary review and it will go to the board on next Thursday. And they will make a vote on that plan. So we won't be discussing the details tonight because the full board needs to review and to vote. But that is a public meeting on Thursday, starting at 3:30 at the hospital, correct? And then we will lay the plan out. So if you'd like to know, we'll do that. So I appreciate that question. We need an official board meeting and that needs to be done, but there is a plan to go forward, okay?
Thank you. One more question. Is the Adams County Treasurer affiliated with the East Adams County Hospital in any way, shape, or form?
It certainly has been. The county has supported this hospital. They issued all of the payments. They collect the tax levies and do that. They had been paying the bonds, but starting on September 1, we have our own internal controls and we have taken those responsibilities. But we absolutely want to say thank you to the county for all of their years of support in doing that. They were doing work that should have been done at the hospital. We had to get our internal controls done. Those have gone to our external auditors and been approved. Those have gone to the state of Washington's SAO office and they were approved. And once those were approved and signed off on, we then asked the county that we'll take responsibility for our own. So we will make our own bond payments and we issue our own checks. But they have been great. They did it up until September. So
Thank you.
okay.
My name is Phil Bowman. I've lived in Adams County for 26 years now. So I'm a relative new. I've worked for the hospital as an EMT for 15 years and retired because of health reasons. I just want to reiterate what several other people have said. There's a lot of people in this room that wouldn't be here if this hospital was here. I'm one. I had a heart attack 5 years ago, and if this hospital wasn't here, I'd be living around. That's all there is to it. My wife has a lot of health problems. We're on first name basis with virtually everybody at the hospital because we spend so much time up there. You're right here, Sarah. So we have 100% support. Whatever you guys do, please keep the place open. I have one question. It's a procedural. I understand that there are several employees of the hospital that are actually contract employees. Contracts are really expensive, like 200,000 a year to supply nurse or lab tech or whatever. And it would make sense if you do layoffs, those would be people you lay off first. Keep your local people. Even if you pay your local people overtime, it's not going to come anywhere near $200,000 a person to keep those people on staff. Get 5 or 6 people, I think. That's $1 million or more. Just to keep 5 people there working at the hospital. So my question, I don't know if it's really a question, but has it been considered to try to recruit more local people, get people to move there and work there full time rather than paying these huge fees to vet people?
So the majority of our contracted staff started with us. These contracts came into play during COVID. We did not lay off any RNs. We did not lay off any lab staff. Those are the only contracted employees we currently have, aside, I guess, from Viola as the interim CFO. Um, to lay those contracted staff off, there are clauses within those contracts that we would still have to pay out. So it'd be great to hire an RN. If we had an RN that would locally apply, we did not have any applying. We have reached out to local RNs in the past few years. They were not happy with our administrative staff and did not want to come work for us. I think that's all that I can really answer about it.
Administrative staff things will change that.
Wasn't there an RN that was laid off
No.
locally?
No.
RN?
Vanessa.
Vanessa?
Oh, okay. Vanessa was our EMS manager. I guess technically she is an RN. She did work for us per diem. So we just did not keep her on per diem or overtime rate.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elaine Hayes, and I'm from Washington, Washington. It's part of the East Adams Rural Hospital. I want to go back just a little bit, so don't start my time yet, okay? Ritzville, back in 1978, when my husband and I got out of the service, he came back here because he loved and adored this area of Washington and Ritzville. And we came back here to make our home. At that time, it was Ritzville Hospital. We were in the red. We had a lot of things going on, and at that time, it took the community members to come together, along with new doctors that came in years later, Dr. Softman, and others of us that were young and ready to come to work on a volunteer basis for your EMS services. We worked on a $10,000 a year budget. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because the big change that happened was that we knew that we needed Lynn, we needed Ritzville, we needed Washtuckna, we needed Hatton, Cunningham, all of the small towns, Benge, that are part of Adams County to come together to support this hospital. And that is when the name of East Adams Rural Hospital was developed, because we all came together. In 1998, East Adams Rural Hospital saw itself in the red, in the black, for the first time, saw themselves in the black. I've listened to a lot of different people here, and I appreciate all the jobs that it has developed. But the thing that bothers me the most is the fact that when you serve on a board and you are part of an elected officials, it is your responsibility to make sure that this does not happen. Now, I can accept the fact that if it's one time, 1 year, but when the audits go on for 3 years, when we know that this is not correct, each one of us has a budget within our home, and we have to operate off that budget. And to take the word of somebody that you as the board are the boss of. Now that's what we forget, is that the board is the boss of our administration. The administration is not the boss of the board. So it is ultimately your responsibility. But I'm not here in anger. What I am here for is in Washtuckna, we are a long ways away from this hospital, but we do depend on this hospital. My son was the last baby born in this hospital that was a birth that was Dr. P.J. Shannon was the doctor at that time. There have been other babies, but he was the last registered, confirmed birth here. But what happened is there became such anger and hatred. One of the ladies got up and spoke about the fact that we come in as patients, we come in as volunteers to help do this, and we get treated poorly. Then we have to go down the line. So there has to be something that is called respect, and it needs to be put back. It needs to be put back to our doctors that are within this community, the RNs that are in this community. It needs to be put back with the janitorial staff. It needs to be put back to the people that will patronize this business. Now, every month, you guys are in the red. You have overextended yourself with your EMS, with your RNs, with everything that is going on, housing them, doing all you are doing. I am not, and I have to be honest about this, totally educated on all that has been going on, because I had to walk back from this. I had to walk back from East Adams Rural Hospital, and I've taken a break from it because it caused me great anxiety. But I do not want this hospital to close. I do not want people to lose their jobs. We have a responsibility to the people in Washtuckna, our elderly in Washtuckna, as we do here in Ritzville and the other communities. We have a responsibility to those students that are driving on 26, Highway 26, and all the highways, I-90 and everything. Now, what I've also come to say is that I have been in the EMS business for 47 years. I was part of this East Adams Rural Britsville Hospital EMS, along with a lot of others out here, that I am willing to volunteer my time to get your program back under control to a place where you can afford it, where you have multi numbers of EMTs, and we have the equipment that we need to run this to get us out of the red on that program, because that is what is happening, and it's a big red. Now, that's nothing against the EMTs or your ALS or any of your people here, because I've taught. I've been all over the state of Washington through this program, and I have volunteered and personally spoke with one of the board members a few years ago and told them that this program would work because it would cost too much. You are needing to figure out ways to get this. My suggestion to all of you is to open this up to small committees or people that will volunteer to help you have an understanding of the buildings that need to be sold, the revenue that is coming in, to have an understanding of your EMS, to have an understanding of your employees, that you come and talk to your HR person so they don't feel that they may have an issue with employment. It all has to be done with respect for all the levels. And once we get ourselves back into respect and remembering that we are a community, that we are the people here of this community, and we all need it. We all need it, that we can get together. Now, one thing I do have a question is that Viola, is that correct? Viola, I love that name actually. Viola, I thank you very much for finding this out. I do. I respect what you have done since June to bring this together. One of my questions though is that you did say about having a person with a CPA on this. Well, in small communities, that might be a little bit tough, you know. But my suggestion is maybe we do have an outsource because you did pay for an attorney to do it or whatever. But maybe what we need to do is do have the check and balances with a committee that is people that could come together and look at maybe doing an audit every 6 months while we're in this situation, or every quarter, that where we are seeing everything. Because I know that if I was sitting on the board and they told me that there was not an audit from the state, I would have been all over that from the very beginning. Because anybody that knows about money, you don't let it go year after year, year after year after year. And to all the employees of East Adams Rural Hospital who make this possible for us, I'm really sorry if you think that you're going to lose your job. I will do whatever I can to keep you employed on a volunteer basis. And I thank you for your many years of service to this community.
Ready, set, start the timer. Right. Do you mind if I don't start the timer on it for just a second?
Let's start the timer on her.
Um, I wanted to address some of the things you said. In July of this year, the state of Washington gave this hospital $2 million because we were the worst. We were the hospital in the most distressed, the worst financial situation in the state. We currently are in the black at East Adams because of that $2 million. Okay, don't get too excited, Chad. But I wanted to say we're in the red. We are actually in the black. The goal from the restructure that started in June that has 26 action items that we've all been working on is to make sure that we're at break even by the end of the year. The issue for this community is we now have a working model. It was tough. There's layoffs. We've done a number of things. We've canceled 14 contracts, all kinds of things. We have a model that's at break even. That's zero. That doesn't give you anything to buy new equipment. That doesn't give you anything to repair ambulances. That gets you to zero. Okay, we got that figured out. It's the debt that got accumulated along the way when you lose 13.4 million over 3 years. We have 8 million in bonds, long term. You pay for a levy, the taxpayers pay for that, okay? We have 2 million that belongs to Multicare because they tried to help us earlier this year that we can't pay back. And we have 3 million in accounts payable that can't be paid. It is the debt that we have to figure out on the go forward. But the immediate concern and the immediate ability to get to the end of this year at zero is done. That we've done, we've worked it, we've proved it, it's happening. It's the debt that's been accumulated, and what do we do about that going forward? And what is the structure? And that's what we're going to talk about on Thursday. So everybody understand where we're at and what it is? Okay. You got me? Hey, I live in Spring, Washington. And before that, I lived in Hammond, Ontario. But I've used the clinic and the hospital for years. So I consider the clinic and ER my friends and my family actually can. And I just don't know what we do without the clinic or the hospital. One of my questions is because I've had family members go to work and the jobs have been sent overseas, they're locked out. Do we have to worry about, oh wait, we can't get our charts, we can't, are the doors just gonna lock on us and we're not gonna be notified? I mean, that's a legit question, you know. And I do want to thank EMS. They serve Sprague, I believe about 60%. Our EMS is maybe 40%. So you can do it without you. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank all the employees, doctors. Another question. I've been in your ER. You've actually saved me, got me to Holy Family. I had 6 mini strokes. Barney Foyer was on it. You got me to Holy Family. Nobody else wanted me because of COVID. Not, not Sacred Heart, Deaconess, Valley, nobody. She pushed it and got this crew right here to get me to Holy Family. Saved my life. In the hospital for 13 days. I'm not going to go over my life story, but everybody here, I don't believe can live or want to live without the clinic and the hospital. Another thing, being in your ER, I watch you let my friends go without any warning. You just let them go. They showed up for work. Oh, we're letting you go. Me, I know we're not supposed to cuss. Me, that was bullshit. You don't treat people that have served this community like that. And then I'm in the ER and I'm like, this doctor is like, she don't give a shit about me. I go, where are you from? She goes, Montana. Oh, you're a traveling doctor. Yeah. You guys are paying money for traveling doctors when we have doctors in the clinic that have taken care of me. Now we don't no longer have doctors in our clinic on call. But then I have a nurse and it's like, I don't recognize you. As you guys are laying off my friends. I don't recognize you. She goes, oh, I'm a traveling nurse. It's like, what is going on? So if we are going to get back on track, I pray to God you're not going to lay anybody else off or just walk up to him and say, we don't want you anymore. You know, we can't use it. We're broke. You know, I just feel bad and it makes me cry. I prayed and I continue to pray. I pray for hospital, the clinic, EMS. God bless y'all.
I'd like to go back to one of the something that the previous speaker said, talked about volunteers. I'd like to point out that number one, we at one time tried to recruit a panel of citizens, an advisory panel. We had 0 volunteers. I would also like to say that we would very much welcome volunteer efforts, and in particular, we really need to restart the foundation. There were some fine folks who for many years did a great job providing funds by hosting annual events and doing other kinds of work. And when those folks were no longer able to carry on with that, would not find anybody else who would pick up the end. So if any of you out there would like to help this hospital district, please try to come together and form a new matters, and I think we could get taken care of at little or no cost. So please, if you would like to volunteer to help, get together and form a new foundation. Thank you. Good afternoon. Maybe. I have one question, then I've got a comment. My first question is, I've heard that the doctors are laid off and will not be there on January 1st, that are currently in doing work. Is that true or not? I hate rumors. We get an answer to that.
Are you speaking to ER doctors?
I, that's the rumor I picked up downtown, because I'm not on the board, they're gonna tell me crap. I mean, stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
So understanding our finances and what we discovered, since Viola came on board, I didn't come on board until August 16th. That was after the layoff. So once that was discovered, there was a deeper dive into how we're going to survive financially. One of the biggest issues with the employed ER providers that we currently have is how much they cost us. It was exorbitant.
Locums.
No, these were hired doctors that were in the ER. They have since been let go according to their contract. We are contracted for professional ER provider services moving forward for a massive cost savings. Keep in mind, nobody likes making these decisions when it comes to local, but we have to do what is best to stay viable, to keep the doors open. It's not always a popular decision, nor is it one that we take lightly.
The next is a comment. If you can use local people to supply your things, especially EMS and other things, they also have a finger on the pulse of the hospital. And that provides information out to the community, whether it be rumors or not. You know, over the years, when I served on the board, I've got enough arrow holes in my butt, and stitches that were made, to understand it's very important to deal with the rumors more than it is the actuality. Second, before I go, I want to make the comment, it's time for reconciliation instead of condemnation. What you've done is what you've done. You're not going to undo that, but you can fix it. And it takes each one of you to have respect of the people, but not necessarily like them. Okay, and that's going to take whether it's the CEO, CFO, COO, ROO, XY, CM, WYRQ. I'm not good at Russian, but but the whole thing is that you have to get the pulse of the community on hand, and to have people come back. We will not. Why should we raise our taxes and support something that's failing? So we have to be told how that works out. And you have to work it out the way you want. Example, new hospital, first time failed. Went out, told the people, figured out why we wanted to move it. It would be cheaper to build a new one somewhere else than it was to work on the old one. But they didn't want that. So the people voted for it. And it's done. It's done. And there were things that we've walked through before. So I applaud each one of you. I can understand the sleepless nights. I was there. I can understand people. I remember walking into the drugstore one time. It just parted like a Red Sea with people in there. I walked through. Everybody's waiting for me to say something because I'm on the board, And I can relate to that. So get strong. Work with our representative Schmickles here. Work with Mark. Both bug the daylights out of it. There's some legislation sounds to me like that needs to be done and fixed, and put it together. Because we in Adams County will stand behind you if we figure that it's right. You've got too many people that because we're farmers and ranchers, we lean on the truth. If we work with a lie or a story, we'll die. So we've been here 5 generations, 6, 4, 3. Well, I will live with that. And we support you. There's not one of you up there that I don't like. Well, maybe, and maybe you feel the same way about me. But with that in mind, keep that in the community. Now, to start that foundation again, I think that is an excellent idea. I will be part of that. I will not head it, but I will be part of that. I'm getting old enough now that where I might still be stuck at 16 and I'm going to be 75 pretty soon. And so it's getting time, but use that experience of other people that have been. Use what they've got. Now, well, remember the time when we don't hesitate to use that. That's a valuable point and to get things done. And I still support putting goldfish in the fountain at the hospital. I think that would be fun to see one pop out every now and then. Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you for your comments, and I would encourage anyone that wants to better understand what we've been working on for a path forward, please attend our next board meeting.
Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Chapman, and I'm 21 years ago. And 20 years ago, I became an advocate and supporter and educator of families with developmental disabilities and special health care needs. And I'll tell you right now, if we close this hospital, the families I know are going to be in a crisis, and they're always in crisis. But when I moved here, this was the only continuance of care we'd ever received. When my sister moved here, it was the best care she ever received was in Richville. And so our first strike was when Life Care closed. That was not an option for her anymore. And I have to move her 7 miles away. This is not the way that communities are supposed to. But 16 of those years, I have been asking the hospital to consider overnight respite care for families with developmental disabilities. It is paid by what's now called DBCS. And every time I get less service and well, we can't make any money on that. Well, you know what? That would have been a continuous revenue for this hospital. Because I can guarantee the families I represent throughout this state are desperate for overnight respite, and you would be full 365 days a year. And it just annoys me that I just kept getting less service all the time. Yes, ma'am. How many families do you serve? You know what? Can't give you a definite number because, I'm an educator and advocate, and I support families. I help connect them to resources and systems. That in Eastern Washington, I now cover 6 counties, down from 14. In every county is the same story. We don't have any overnight respite. We don't have enough care providers. And I have been a care provider. It's 65 miles per client per month. That's not going to get you to Spokane or doctor. Yeah. So there's so many families in this area that are up against this. Aging and adult recipients are in the same boat. And so this is crucial. And in the last 2 weeks, I've been in 4 counties, and every county's asking me, what are you guys doing to save this? So I will offer my services. I am there to help with your community support and figuring out how to be there. I want to be a stakeholder. I want to be at the table because I have families that are desperate, and for some of them, I'm the only voice they've got.
From Sheil, I think it's so that not to fall on you guys, but there's a little bit of disappointment that we're not hearing what the plan is or what the considerations for the plan is. And though I can respect the board needing to address it, I do believe there is some disappointment across the audience in not having some of the ideas or what you've looked at. It kind of felt very vague at the beginning, which was very frustrating and very big answers when I think people are really looking for a little bit more detail and some assurances in what you guys are doing. Especially because we've gotten to this place without trust in place and that being broken. And now we're still sitting in this place saying, we have a plan, we got it, with nothing to give any ground to demonstrating that. I do have a couple clarifying questions. I believe I read in the news article that the expenditures every month are about $2 million. And then I just heard Viola say that you guys were just going to be starting to clear that amount of money and that was a record for you. Is that, am I misconstrued, or what does that look like for you?
We have average expenses now 1.5 and 1.6 on the income side. So we're just starting to make that, but it used to be correct. How they got in that mess was a couple million of expenses and 1.4 of income, net income, right?
And
So
was
now
that monthly?
yeah,
Like the expenditures was $2 million a month and we were only clearing 1 point, whatever you just said, 1.4 was the average, and we are just now getting to that 2 million. And you're saying that issue's been rectified, or we're still carrying over those $2 million of expenditures into the new year?
we're carrying the debt, but now we have 1.6 of net income and 1.5 of expenses.
So you guys are profiting roughly $100,000 a month
Right.
on ideally.
Yeah. With 5 million debt, guess how far that goes?
Yeah, not very far.
Not very far.
Okay. And then my other question, I think for clarification, I heard you guys post about the notices on the board. What is the time frame that you guys post the notices on the hospital board, or what is that required notice to give to the public so that they can look on the website and have time to plan accordingly?
Yeah, Brooke, it's the same as any Open Public Meeting Act requirement. So Washington State, as you know, as a city council member, you have your regular meetings that are regularly scheduled. So anytime you have a special meeting, you need to give a minimum of 24-hour notice. So it seems like there's a lot of concerns about a couple of these meetings that we've had. And I would love to give a 2-week notice that we're gonna have a special meeting, but some of these special meetings that we've had to have are because we've gotten some pretty last minute information that we needed to act on right away. And so that was the purpose of those. But as a board member and somebody that goes to a lot of municipal government meetings, it's not my intention, nor anybody else's on the board, to try to have a meeting and hide from stuff. I asked for this community forum. I asked for it at the last meeting. If we need to have more community forums, wonderful. I hope everybody shows up next Thursday. I'm gonna answer, probably shouldn't, but I will. One thing that we're looking at very heavy, and I am on the finance committee this year, first time I've been on it, because I was concerned last year, I got on here. We're looking at what's called the Rural Emergency Hospital. There is about 48 of them in the country. The government started these in 2022 because you had hundreds of rural hospitals closing across the country. The big benefit on a rural emergency hospital is that Medicare is going to pay you a monthly amount to pay for your services, because they recognize that it's hard to cover services if you don't have a lot of usage. There's a lot of things that need to get worked out. I'm one of 5 members on the board, but that's the avenue that I see making a lot of sense. I've done a lot of research. I talked to the national group that's funded by HRSA that does everything for free. And the state of Washington has an avenue to do that. That's a plan that I think will be really interesting for everybody to hear about. Again, I'm one of 5 votes. I don't make that decision. But as a group, I would encourage us, because I have lost a lot of sleep and been stressed, as a lot of people have, because I don't want this hospital closed. That's the last thing I want. And so I'm doing everything possible. Representative Schmick is here. I've been on the phone with him a ton. Senator Schessler has stepped up and done a ton of things. Anovia, Waters Meat, ACDC, all these organizations that have funding mechanisms have been engaged, they've been talked to. I've had several people come to me and say, you thought about calling Senator Baumgartner? Yeah, we have. We've contacted everybody, because this is not like something we're like, oh yeah, it's all gonna work itself out. This is full panic mode where everybody is stressed out. And the number one thing that every single organization that wants to give money says is, how are you financially viable? We're not going to throw good money after bad. We have to be financially viable. So hard things might still happen, but we have to be financially viable for anybody to give us money. I wouldn't want to take money if it was throwing good money after bad. That's not my intention. So we have to be financially viable. We have shown that we are on that pathway. And when you become financially viable, there are funding mechanisms out there. And John, you mentioned the big beautiful bill with the 50 billion in rural healthcare. I'm really hopeful that there's some money that can come to us on that. But I don't think our state legislature is going to be super excited to give us a bunch of money if we can't properly manage it. And that's the fact. So that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm spending all my time working on. And that's the goal for this district moving forward, is to show financial viability.
Yeah, and I do want to recognize and appreciate the actionable steps that you guys have taken. Like there has been some demonstrated effort in fixing this. I appreciate you guys switching to multi-carrier billing. That was like one of my biggest barriers to wanting to receive services at East Adams is dealing with the billing afterwards. Bill, I appreciate you like so much. I see you. I trust you. I trust what's coming out of your mouth and that you're upfront and honest. And I greatly value that. I think the other question, and this is kind of like the question nobody wants to hear the answer to, is if East Adams were to close, which I completely understand that is not the plan right now, and we talked about EMS services from other communities, does that look like Moses Lake? Does that look like Spokane? What does that look like? Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so, on Thursday, we're gonna talk about the plan going forward, but we'll talk about some things that, we have tried and are not going to happen. And we'll talk about the big beautiful bill for just a second, although you can probably do a better job than I can right now. It is, the 50 billion is 1 billion for every state. All the territories were excluded. It is 5 years, so it's 1 billion for the states for 5 years. So they roughly have like 100 million, and it's going to be split in two. So it's just 25 that the states get to determine what they're going to do, and you correct me if I'm wrong. And then 25 billion will be determined, the outlay. So the state of Washington in October put in the plan of how they're going to spend their share. It's being approved and will do so. The actual parameters of what we can do, there is some in there for EMS, but they have like 12 items in the state of Washington that are going to help rural healthcare. We have a grants person, our compliance person has taken that on because we understand we're going to need to be there. We're going to have to be present and we're going to have to get after that money. Our representatives have already stepped up and they're going to help us with that. But no particulars about how much that's going to be, what we're going to get it for, and how that's going to happen. That has all not been worked out. So go ahead.
I'm looking right now at this and use of funds, state to have flexibility in using the funds which can cover short-term financial stabilization.
Yay!
So
We're going to
how much money, whatever but that's part of the deal. So I started.
I will say that one of the reasons we got 2 million from the state for the stress funds in July is that we had a turnaround plan starting in June and we were implementing it. So again, when you can prove that you're viable and that you have a plan, it works. We have approached Waters Meet is what was called as Empire Foundation. They are pulling Innovia and Better Health Tomorrow. Those three in Spokane, which are three of the largest foundations for healthcare, are working together. We're communicating with them almost on a daily basis. There are some ideas already on the table. They believe that'll take about 60 days to put that in place. And they are talking 7 figures. They are talking a significant amount. That will not be free. It will be a combination maybe of grants and loans. That all has to be worked out, but they have stepped up and coming to the table. We have talked, we'll just be honest here. We have talked and we're able to have the board's permission to explore mergers with partners because long term, maybe that's a good idea. Our partners are not interested. That is not an option for us. So closure's not on there, merger's not on there, bankruptcy's not on there. And the good news is we're a public hospital in the state of Washington. That means our creditors cannot force bankruptcy or closure. So what we got to do, we listen all of these ideas, I got pages, we've all got pages here. We really wanted your ideas tonight, so we understand you want the plan from us. We'll have that on Thursday. But tonight is the night we need your ideas and your thoughts. And then before Thursday's presentation, all of that will be incorporated because we do not want a plan that is not what you want and is not going to work for this community. So tonight, you wanted something from us, but tonight really is to make sure that this plan going forward is exactly what this community wants. So we're here, it's about listening tonight, I'm sorry. But we need to know, okay?
The alternative. The alternative of the rural emergency response. That's lots of traffic. Getting the city, one of money. But in the interest of full disclosure, I should point out what's involved with that. And that is completely closing down the hospital aspect of it. Would have an emergency. No, not completely. I misunderstood what I was told.
No.
We can explain.
Yeah, on Thursday, yeah.
It's just this way. It is not all peaches and cream. There's always a price to be paid.
Are you guys gonna have enough space for the public on Thursday in your hospital boardroom?
Depends on how tight you want to be with your planes.
Yeah. I mean, if this is a more convenient forum for everybody, we could have it here. So I happen to know the guy that books the place. So. Three.
Thank you.
Just raise your hands, does the community want it here? Okay. Yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
So I just have a quick comment on that. EMS question that you had just last. EMS stand up for me, please. Thank you. Bridgeville without this group of people would be a very, very scary place. BLS runs with an EMT. ALS runs with advanced life support. These are people who are paramedics that can do life-saving interventions for your family, for your children, people driving on the highway. We just had an incident last week. These people come in covered in dirt. When there's dust storms, I mean, I think I've seen Brooke where I couldn't recognize his face. Very, very scary place in this community without you. And they sit around a table and they come up with ideas on how they can fix things, how they can bill more, for interfacility transports, but they never leave this community without 911, right?
ALS.
Advanced life support. They never leave this community stranded. And I know that because I've got to know them over the last few months. Sarah and Mike, stand up. These are your leaders. They do an outstanding job. Amazing group of people along with everybody else at the hospital. And I'm sorry I'm not replying to every single person who asked a clinical question. I don't want to get involved in personal health information. I am a nurse, not a public speaker. But thank you to every employee that's here. You guys are awesome and you are the path forward. And I love you, so I'm here to stay. So with Thursday being such an important week and as a working person, I'm just wondering why you guys always make it at 3:30, not 6, so that others can make that meeting. Okay. Yeah, I can speak to that. I'm the one that originally made that motion to move our time. So looking back, we have not had good public participation at the board meetings. I pulled numbers in 2024, we have an average of 4 public attend. Most of the time that was employees. This year we've had an average of 12 come per meeting at our 3:30 time versus the 5:30 time. A lot of us have kids. We volunteer for other things. We coach. We have sports.
I'm the one that made that motion because no one was coming anyways. So going forward, we are open if the public wants to attend, if that is a barrier to your attendance, we will discuss that and we can move time.
Well, I'm just saying, because this Thursday is a very important meeting to a lot of people here in this room. And not everyone can make that 3:30 time, so I was just curious if there was any option for it to possibly be later, just so that others can make it.
So we try not to move regular scheduled board meetings because they're regularly scheduled. That's something that we can discuss if we want to move that. If we do move that time, we'll post it so that more people can come. It is open for public comment. You cannot attend. We'll take written statements. But I don't want there to be barriers to it.
You're moving the location now. What the difference is moving the time, this is an important meeting for everybody.
Yeah, we can discuss that, especially if we are moving location. And we will get that posted if either of those dates change.
My name's Kim Shopstall, and I want to thank all of you for hosting this today. I put myself in your position. It's not easy to do, but that is what brings trust. So thank you. I did want to ask just about the rural hospital or the emergency hospital district. That was my question. Are you going to announce or discuss that more? You said on Thursday. I really did. For those of us who can't be there on Thursday, can you give us a little more information on what that would look like?
So a rural emergency hospital is a designation of a hospital no different than critical access. This hospital district, by my knowledge, became a critical access hospital in the early 2000s. It's a different way for you to be funded and to do your cost reimbursement and all the different things. A rural emergency hospital concept is to take small rural hospitals that are closing all over the country and to help fund their emergency room department. So the amount of money that Medicare, or the federal government, I should say, pays you a month is about $291,000 a month, $235,000 a month for you to have an emergency room done. With that, you can still have a rural health clinic, which we have, still do labs, labs, all things. The only thing that we are going to really see a difference, from my understanding, if we go that route, is you are not allowed to have long-term observation patients or swing bed patients. The average patient stay at your facility has to be 24 hours or less. So I asked this question to the big guys. I said, I had somebody that came in for 5 minutes and somebody that came in for 2 days. Am I okay? Yes, you're okay. So we don't have a 24-hour timer where we have to kick each person out of the place, but it's an average of 24 hours. People say, and I was led to believe this, you make all your money on swing beds. That's how you, beds and beds, that's how you fill the place. I was told that for years. Viola, when she first got here, told me, you're dumb. That's wrong. And I said, oh God, I don't think so. The problem is our average daily census swing beds in our hospital is 1. That's what we have. So when you have a facility that has a swing bed and all the services, diet, everything that goes along with that, there is a break-even point. And if you can't have a huge census because you don't have people using it, then it's something that the federal government recognizes like you're not going to make it. Because our Medicare reimbursement, probably going to talk outside my skill set here, but is at 101% of your cost. So if somebody comes in and uses your facility, Medicare is going to pay you a 101% of what it costs. So you're gaining 1%. Good luck ever trying to improve something, to invest in infrastructure, pay for a roof. It's pretty hard to do when you're making 1%. And that's our payer mix is about 75% Medicare, Medicaid. That's about the payer mix. So everybody understands that. 25% commercial, 75% Medicare, Medicaid. That's why small hospitals like us across the country make these moves.
Thank you. And then you said if people have questions, they can go on the hospital website and ask. How would we know about the response though? Would there be somebody responding to those questions or?
Just one. Oh, I see. That 101%, easily as it is not realistic because what they consider costs, there are a number of expenses that the hospital has that will figure into that. So that we're really always operating by losing money. The more patients we have, the more money we lose in a sense. They're the only things that rescue us basically are private insurance and to some extent the labs and imaging. But people in Washington DC just don't really relate to rural, despite the fact you got 1 person in 5 in this country, 1 person in 5 in this state is rural, but that just doesn't seem to connect. See, I love you.
Carmela Conroy, and I'm from Spokane. I'm a city kid, but I was raised by farm kids. I worked a couple of wheat harvests out in Lind. And I know that there are 11 critical access hospitals in the 5th Congressional District. I also know, because of who raised me, that city people no longer exist if rural communities don't exist because we all got to eat. And our food comes from the breadbasket of Eastern Washington. A lot of people's food comes from the breadbasket of Eastern Washington, and our rural communities have to be viable. And in some communities, the hospital, like in Columbia County, the hospital is the biggest employer. And so a hospital failure, like somebody said earlier, means the whole community goes down the drain. It's a collective economic disaster. And I want to try to help prevent that. And I'm running for Congress to represent Eastern Washington. I'm challenging Michael Baumgartner because I don't believe that he represents our voices in Washington, D.C. I thank you for letting me join you today and hear what all you have to say. And I'd be happy to stick around afterwards and talk to people individually if you'd like to hear more about what I'm here for.
Just real quick, one of my responsibilities is social media in our website. So just pay attention to our social media and the website. Again, that's www.earh.org. I'll keep it real simple. All announcements I'll just put on the homepage, so you don't have to go digging for it. So any adjustments to board meetings and things like that, we will get that word out. So everyone's on the same page, especially for this upcoming board meeting next week. I just wanted to say that.
Hey, John. That brings up a good point. Did Baumgartner answer your phone call?
I did not, I was not the one that personally called him, so.
Okay.
I know some people are leaving, but I want to take a minute for each Adams employee to stand up. Stand up. I know you hate it. As much as I hate speaking, you hate standing. These people face adversity every single day in our hospital. Not one has resigned since we put out the notice. They're here to fight for the hospital and to take care of everybody here. So they deserve a round of applause.
Okay, I don't see anyone else in line for questions, so we'll go ahead and close it up. I do have a brief closing statement I'd like to make, so please bear with me. As we wrap up today's meeting, we want to extend our heartfelt appreciation to each of you for your time, your questions, and your engagement. Your presence here shows how much this hospital means to our community, and I want you to know that this board and our new administrative team share that commitment just as deeply. We're fully dedicated to ensuring that the people of East Adams County and the surrounding areas continue to have access to quality health care close to home. It's not just our responsibility, it's our mission. Every decision we make Every challenge we navigate and every step we take forward is grounded in what is best for this community. We feel your support, and it truly makes a difference. It strengthens us, encourages us, and reminds us why this work is so important. As we move ahead, we ask for your continued partnership and trust. Path forward will require collaboration, patience, shared purpose. And we firmly believe that together we can build a strong, sustainable future for local healthcare. On our behalf, the entire administrative team and the Board of Commissioners, we thank you again for being here today, for your honesty, and for your care for this hospital. We look forward to continuing this work together. Thank you all. Have a nice evening.
I would like to see show of hands, how many people here would prefer that the Thursday meeting be held here at 5:30? Okay.
Aye.
That's what it's for you here at 5:30 on Thursday. Thank you all.
My name's Sandra Del Mario. Nice to meet you. My master's, my mom's a there. My background's in accounting finance. I just was just like and other than that, yes. Very great. You know, so I'm actually a program manager. I am like, and it's like, the thing about it is, I was hoping for time. Let's have accent. Are you on you did a good job. I did. Audit was a whole thing, like, this is the monitor. And all I was doing like the variation from like the variance. Sorry. Let's something to get. Yeah. I mean, I know that you just thought. I'm just like, that's what's happening. Yeah, yeah. That's a good idea. What's that administration? Like, I looked at numbers with operations and like what you have. Oh, sorry.
Hi, how are you? Yeah. I'm out of that. So now, yeah.
Not only that, Scott, I did my.
I don't know what. I know. I know. So, yeah.
I put it out the last meeting.
So not yeah, now like now, okay, I think I found
I can, that, I can tell you right now that $15 million is a fiasco. I've been yelling at HCA over that. Because they only anticipate 100 million. But
that's okay.
HCA gets 8%. Right? So now we're down to 82. Of that 82, 30% is the which is only like $90.
Thank you, Ren. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm showing you the presentation. This is why I was so. This is why I was so angry at HCA. I looked at call them up and they said, my comment to him was, then you are taking all that money to fund all your internal program. That is not the intention. And I thought I did. Newhouse. Because he was worried that what they're doing is wasn't gonna happen. And so it's happening. So I'm really not. But anyway, please be there on Monday and hopefully we'll have a game.
Yes.
Okay. Nice to meet you. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you had a good turn. Since-
Thank you.